ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Terrell. I'm here with my partner, Marcia Hughes, today to discuss our chapter in the book, which is called The Handbook for Developing Emotional and Social Intelligence, and the chapter is on coaching for emotional intelligence. Now, what we attempted to do is to give a very brief overview of some of the material we covered in our previous book, which is A Coach's Guide to Emotional Intelligence. So you'll get some of the highlights if you read this chapter. Marcia, why don't you tell them a little bit about what they can expect to see?
The handbook itself, and certainly this chapter, is written to make sure that we're providing material for people to use to get concrete ideas, practical ideas to really make a sustainable change. And as a matter of fact, sustainable change, James, is really the key purpose statement for collaborative growth.
Absolutely. It's been that way since we got started 16, 17 years ago.
Practical, sustainable change. And we found that there are really four key components to that. The first one, when we're working with someone, is to help them get understanding. And that is what you could call the IQ part or the cognitive part, so some understanding. People need to understand it's good to make this change because. Unfortunately, a lot of training just leaves people with that or coaching and then they leave, but they don't know what else to do. It's the other three parts that equal a sustainable change.
So in other words, it's got to go beyond just the description of the process and the definitions. It has to really get into some of the behaviors.
Right, it does. And the second component, incredibly important, commitment. And we call this the inspirational part. You have to catch it with your heart, really even with your soul. If you want to make a sustainable behavior change, you've got to want to, because it's not just going to happen. It can happen, promise, but it takes commitment. So that's 2. And 3 is practice.
So practice, 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 just like listen, listen, listen if you want to help someone develop their empathy.
And listening is a practice.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right. You know, sitting tall, as our parents probably taught us, is a practice. There are many practices in life. If we want to grow our empathy, or say we want to grow our self-regard, then part of the practice would be to engage in positive messages to yourself, instead of just beating yourself up all the time.
So in other words, the descriptions are not going to be sufficient to help you develop emotional intelligence. You could learn about emotional intelligence without ever becoming any more emotionally intelligent. Because, in fact, emotional intelligence has to do with how accurately you send and receive the emotional energy signals that human beings use to communicate value. Value and emotions go hand in hand. There's never an occasion where we have an emotional response where there's not some value involved.
Which on its own would be a good YouTube discussion. But for now, we'll just say that practice includes the determined part. Determined. I am determined to expand my self-awareness, to go to the gym, to eat right, any of those parts of our life. So, and then that's the third part. Practice the determined part. The fourth part is to receive feedback from others, to be willing and courageous enough to reach out and say, are you noticing? Did I get it right? Am I calibrated?
So I might ask, I might tell a colleague, I'm really working to be more assertive. When I confronted you on that, did it feel like I was being both respectful but still holding my ground? Is that the kind of example that we should maybe pass on?
Yep, and that's what we call the collaborative part.
Right.
And given that we come from collaborative growth, that's working on building collaborative intelligence, that's quite relevant.
So one of the first things that we talk about is valuing self. And this includes things like self-regard and the ability to recognize what our own emotional feelings are so that we're able to be in touch and congruent with ourselves. After that, the focus has to change to the other people in our life so that in fact I'm also aware of what you're feeling and why. This is the part that entails valuing others.
The third part, and this list that we're giving you, are key areas that coaches or mentors or team leaders are often seeking to help others build. And the third one we have is something we call responsive awareness. Not a phrase you hear all that often, but look how much sense it makes. Responsive. I can respond to you based on what you say because I'm aware. So I'm aware and responsive.
So here's where the listening comes in, not necessarily just with your ears, but with your eyes, with your whole focus of attention, noticing what I'm saying. Because what I'm saying with my mouth might be really different than what I'm saying with my body language. Is that right?
That might be right. But it also might require assertiveness, saying, shape up. You don't need all that language. I don't know. So assertiveness, reality testing, am I responding to what's going on? Optimism, do I have a sense that I can effectively respond? And that leads us to the next one, which is one of our most important.
One of the things that all coaches need to be able to demonstrate at a very high level is the courage to confront people in terms of giving them an accurate reflection of themselves that is neither too sweet nor too harsh, sort of like Goldilocks, I suppose, just right, in that when they get an accurate reflection of how they're performing, how they're responding emotionally to the people in their life, they can then begin to correct that behavior. But if it is too harsh, someone needs to say, I don't feel good about that. That leaves me feeling really withdrawn and kind of defensive. Or if it's too sweet, the feedback would need to be something like, you're not going to really get me to move or change if you don't put some more backbone into it and really hold me accountable with a higher level of emotional intensity. And it's that, again, emotional energy that accomplishes this part of the work.
And then the final one we've focused on is called authentic success. And this is something we offer many programs on because it's really, James, what people are looking for. We have a lot of labels for success, like a great bank account or a job with the right title or da-da-da-da-da.
A corner office and a lot of perks.
Yeah, the right number of children. Who knows? I mean, there's no end to the number of things we can think we need for success. Authentic success qualifies that and takes us to the self-inquiry of what really matters to me. And am I living in accord with that? It's a very high-level skill, to tell you the truth, and one that probably matters the most of all. There's a lot of discussion in today's world about growing happiness. This is a different way of phrasing it, and I think more concrete, more attainable. What is success truly to me?
So in our tagline for collaborative growth, we talk about connecting people, purpose, and productivity. This is really the purpose part of that, wouldn't you say?
Well, to tell you the truth, James, I'd put it all three together. This is pulling them all together. Because authentic success governs how I relate with people. It is my purpose, and it certainly results in productivity.
Okay,
Wraps
good point.
it together.
So in other words, it's sort of like the glue that sort of oozes between all of those and really holds the whole collaborative intelligence piece in its wholeness.
It does. And with that, we'll just recommend that you have a chance to go look at this chapter. And of course, stay in touch with us anytime that you would like to. We have a blog, we have lots of forms of social media, an e-zine. Connect with us.
Absolutely. Tweet us.
Our website is C as in collaborative, growth, growth.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you very much.